So I first was interested in starting Sonofinity about 4 years ago, but it was an evolution from childhood where I was always interested in music, and then growing up and going out to live music venues. And I just felt that it was really exciting, the kind of energy that you could get out of those systems. And I had a pretty decent system at home, but I started to kind of question the deep bass. What was really the deep bass? You can kind of hear a note and it's going da da da, and it's like, what's that really like? So I built some prototypes trying to explore that, and I did. So I realized that the live music venues don't usually have very deep bass. What you think is deep bass, it's not as deep as it can get. I know there are challenges with creating deep bass. It's moving a lot of air. So you need more power. You need special enclosures that embrace resonance to help move more air. There's a challenge with large venues because you have to fill more airspace, and because the live venues typically want to have louder music, that's a challenge as well. And these typical subs aren't inherently equipped to handle that extremely low frequency. The thing with reproducing extremely deep bass is it requires moving a lot of air. The woofers need to move a lot of air, and there's a limit to that. A limit with mechanical excursion, a limit with the electricity that's going into them, which generates heat. And these woofers can be damaged trying to achieve extremely low frequencies. So the solution that we have is the enclosures and passive radiators embracing resonance to keep control of the drivers. So there's a challenge with reproducing extremely deep bass in large music venues at high volumes. It requires moving a lot of air with the subwoofer. The conventional subwoofers aren't designed to handle extremely low frequencies. They usually start to roll off. They usually start to roll off around 32 hertz and below. And that's where our subs really start to pick up the energy. They are designed to live and work in the extremely low frequencies. That's why I got into Sonofinity, because I wasn't really satisfied with how deep the bass was getting at these live venues. I could tell that there were deep frequencies present in the music or the soundtrack at a theater, but it was weaker than the rest of the sound, and in some cases distorted. Usually they don't run into distortion, but I've heard that too, where it's trying to hit a much deeper frequency than what the sub is designed to handle. So I started to realize that something was left to be desired. It was kind of disappointing when when you think there's something down there and it's just, I wonder what that's like. So I designed our subs, and they accomplished the goals of hitting deep bass. And then I was able to really explore all the songs that I knew, and find more songs that really exercise extremely low frequencies. Then you go back to these live venues that don't have Sonofinity subs, and if you hear the songs that you're familiar with on the Sonofinity subs over the conventional subs, it's like, I knew it. I knew we were missing something there. I didn't really realize what was missing until later on. I got a set of headphones that, it's a set of JVC headphones straight from Japan, and they have built-in subwoofer drivers and a little bandpass chamber in there. It's unlike any other kind of headphones on the market. And I use a headphone amplifier on it with a digital analog converter for the best sound quality out of the computer. And those headphones will play any frequency down to 1. You can even feel like 1 hertz. You can feel it kind of suctioning in. So so there's nothing that they can't do, and that's when I was exploring on Spotify. I'm up to now on Spotify after 4 or 5 years, at least 4 years of building a playlist on Spotify of songs with great bass. About 63 hours worth of songs on there, 920 songs. And some of them I knew before I started designing this, and I discovered more bass in them. Wow, it sounds like a totally different song. Is this a remix? I explored some ways to achieve deeper bass, and it's not just... Okay, with trying to achieve deeper bass with a conventional enclosure, the woofer will respond, the amplifier and the woofer will respond to a signal of extremely low frequencies, but it won't really amount to anything. You won't hear it, you won't feel it, you risk damaging the driver either mechanically or electrically. The thing with Sonofinity subwoofers is, because they're designed to work and play in those extremely deep frequencies, it just comes naturally for it. You actually get something out of it for what you're putting into it. Now, that being said, they don't really do that droning upper bass, but I don't like that kind of bass anyway, so that's perfect. Now, we have a thing called the psychoacoustic equal loudness contour, or in other words, perceived loudness of different frequencies. So with the equal loudness contour, what you're looking at in the bass is, as the frequency gets deeper, the perception of it decreases. The human perception of deeper frequencies is diminished. So you have to compensate by increasing the gain into lower frequencies. If you try to put this into normal subs, they either won't do it or they'll be overdriven by it, which usually they just won't do it in the first place. And any sound engineer is going to know that they're not designed to do that. They're probably just going to roll it off with a crossover. And the Sonofinity subs are designed to capture all of that extremely low frequency. The Sonofinity design is what gives it its performance, and those things are unique: design and performance. And here's why. Pretty much every other sub on the commercial market is going to be a bass reflex box. It's popular to have dual 18-inch direct radiating drivers. They're just out there on the surface, you can see them. And then there's usually a hole or a slot, maybe a pipe, and that's the port. That's the bass reflex port. And that's just almost across the board. Okay, the thing with bass reflex is the hole, which usually has some kind of a pipe behind it, is a mass of air molecules. And even though you think like air doesn't weigh anything, well, it does. And when it's vibrating, it has some inertia. So it kind of has some weight to it. So with a passive radiator, you have this moving mass. It's going to be moved by the vibration from your driver in that enclosure. The model you're going to look at now is the PAC 40. It has the same driver complement, which is 4 18-inch drivers. In this case, they're in that tunnel there, which is a waveguide. You won't be able to see it in there because it's just dark back there, but it's a chamber that's tuned to 32 hertz. So we still make the PAC 30, and it's still just like this. This was actually made in 2 halves that are put together, but now it's just one piece. It has 4 15-inch drivers in it. This is the first generation of what is now the PAC 60. It has 2 15-inch high excursion drivers. Everything you see on this side is mirror imaged on the other side. So that's a foundation of our subs. I didn't really invent anything because passive radiators were already a thing. Transmission lines, which we use, they were already a thing. Bandpass enclosures were already a thing. And it's the combination of them that's unique, as far as I can tell, and I think I've turned over every stone.